So you just got an invitation to something that you can't pass up. Everybody's going. And you hesitate, but you still say yes. And deep inside, after the fact, you recognize you said yes to something again, and you didn't want to do it. Does that sound familiar? If that's you, this is the Jumpstart for you. We're going to talk about today one of the most important things that you can learn as a vision-driven workplace leader, entrepreneur, or mission-minded power player. If you're ready to get the answers you need to live your core values and get closer to your God-given purpose, then let's do this. Let's go.
Really drive to
that I felt like I needed, and I was comfortable in that space of just me and God.
Hope is offensive. Hope is desperate.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Jumpstart Your Vision with Coach Karen. That's me. If you are new to Jumpstart, I am so glad to have you. This is a really important episode for a couple of reasons, one of which is this is the last Jumpstart episode for the spring season. Many of you know that kind of the school year is over, and that's kind of what we use to determine seasons, as it were, for this particular show. And this year, over the summer season, we're going to use the summer season to begin developing next season, the fall season, which is going to start in August. And I am so excited because we've got some new things coming. We've got a new design within our business model, and I'm so excited about that. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are joining us for the first time, I am particularly excited for you because you're going to get an opportunity to talk about one of my favorite topics. Now, I know that all of you are busy. You've got stuff going on. And I hope the intent of these episodes is to give you power plays, those things, those strategies, those tips that help you make incremental progress. If you do nothing but focus on one of the power plays that we talk about and implement them into your business, into your work, into your ministry, whatever it is that you've got going on, then our hope is that you begin to see what progress looks like on your terms. So come on in here, grab your coffee, your water, your tea, kombucha, whatever it is your thing, and let's get busy. Let's talk about it. Do me a favor, share this with 10 of your best friends and tell them, get in here, block your calendar, and let's talk about it. This is a dynamic live conversation for those of you that are joining us while we're streaming. This is a live conversation and we want you to be a part. So jump into the comments and ask questions. Let us know where you are joining us from. To all of our YouTube fam, good morning. Glad to see you. Come on in here. We're going to be talking about it today, and we're going to be talking about core values. Core values. Do you know your core values? If you don't, we're going to talk about it today, and we're going to talk about why and how to do it. Let's see who's joining us this morning. We've got Amanda Bowen. Hey, Amanda, great to see you in here. And then in the background, we have live and in living color, Kimberly Frazier. She is serving as our technical producer this morning, and she just killed it this morning. So good morning, Kimberly. Good to see you. She's going to be working the magic in the background. Who else is here? Come on in here and let us know that you are joining us this morning. By the way, I guess I should announce, I've announced earlier in the week to our coaching group that I look a little different this morning. I have vacation hair, and for the right price, you can have it too. So just wanted to share that in case you are a little shocked at what you're seeing up here. It's vacation hair. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Every single year, this is what happens. So how you doing? How did your week go? Let us know in the comments what you're working on in your vision. Okay, you guys. So I teed it up at the top of the hour, and I want to give you kind of the context behind this. So every year I would experience this thing where I would end up saying yes to things, but I really didn't want to say yes to things. Like some of the things I wanted to say yes to, but some of the things I really just kind of hesitated. Has that ever happened to you? Or maybe you went along with something. You were in a conversation and somebody said something and you either nodded your head or you said nothing at all. And later you went back and you were like, I have no idea why I just said yes to that. Or that really made me angry and I didn't say anything about it. Listen, if that's you, the reality is it happens to a majority of us that are vision-driven leaders. In any industry, in any vertical, we all have a tendency to do these things. Okay, here's the other thing. How many of you have pursued a career or pursued some type of work only to realize that there was something inside of you that didn't agree with the choice that you made? You ended up showing up in something that did not align with you, the real you. Today, we're going to talk about you, the real you. And we're doing that from the lens of your core values. Now, here's the question that I ask all of my leaders, and that is, what are your top 5 core values? A little bit of a trick question. I'm going to tee it up, but I just want to ask for those of you that are joining us live, and if you're joining us on replay, answer along and just put your note in the comments and we'll see them. So, what are your top 5 core values? You say, well, what are values? I'll play along. All right. Your core values are those principles and standards or beliefs that guide how you live life or how you want to live life in its best state. Okay? Values, core values, are those things that no matter where you go, they are the core beliefs that shape who you are in your truest self. Okay? Now, everybody knows that we all go into situations, we all go into the workplace or social environments, community environments, and we may not always show up as our true self. There's a lot of talk in the world nowadays about showing up as your most authentic self. And there's lots of debate about what that actually means. But core values are those things internally. They're your internal compass. They're the things that signal to you right or wrong, good or bad, as it were, from a values perspective. Okay, so think about it. What are your top 5 core values? You say, well, how do you identify what your values are? I'll give you a few examples. For example, abundance, beauty, clarity, connection, contribution, excellence, fairness, family, freedom, fulfillment, honesty, humility, humor, intimacy, loyalty, openness, optimism, personal growth, physical appearance and health, power, privacy, professionalism, reliability, recognition. Y'all see where I'm going here, right? Respect. Maybe respect is really important to you. Safety, self-care, self-mastery, service, simplicity, structure. Y'all see where I'm going? Trust, truth, vision, vitality. We could go on. But the idea is that there is some core belief that is your internal compass. It says to you, this is the way that I want to live my life. This represents me at my best self and the world at its best state. So I'll ask again, for those of you that are watching live and on replay, what are your top 5 core values? Now, some of you, like many of the leaders that I work with, when I ask this question, they draw a blank. Did you know that? Yeah. You'd think core values are the things that everybody knows are core values. But friend, you and I both know, if you stop and think about it long enough, you know that we all do it. We walk around busy doing all the things, but we are very rarely looking at the decisions that we're making and the things that we're saying yes to from the perspective of our core values. Why? Because we're on autopilot. There are things that we take for granted. We just say yes, we go along, we do the things that we always have done, but we're not looking at our lives and our work, our decisions, and all of those things that affect the vision that we have for our work, our workplace, our businesses, our ministries, and that sort of thing from a place of core values. Now, some of us do it probably more than others, but more often than not, by the time somebody gets to my desk, they're on autopilot mode. Anybody get on autopilot? You say yes to things. You say yes to that committee because you've done it for 15 years. I'm just saying. Look, don't take it personally because I do it too. But here's the thing. When you are on autopilot, you are moving through your life and work, and you will get to a place, we've talked about this before, where your indicators start going off. Come on, y'all come with me. I know it's Friday. You've had a long week, me too, but come on with me. Here's what happens. You end up feeling overwhelmed and you don't really know why. Or you feel a little sad, or maybe a little annoyed, or maybe you feel a little resentful and you don't know why. Friend, the reason you're feeling that, the reason your indicators are going off, they're sounding off, is because you need to go back to your core values. What are the things that are being, what we call it, what are the things that are being offended or stepped on or violated or agitated? Your core values are those things that say, this is right, this is wrong. This gets me closer to God. This pulls me away from God. Y'all come on with me. I know this is a little bit deep on a Friday, but I need you to hear this. Because as vision-driven leaders, when you can navigate the vision that God's given you from the place of your core values, you will make better decisions. You will have more confidence. You will draw from that wellspring of courage more easily. I'm telling you, your core values are the compass for your vision. That's good, Karen. Thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all, I'm telling you, this was a game changer for me. And you remember we talked about last week, the things that we talk about in here are really simple, but they're not easy. I felt that in my soul. They're simple, but they're not easy. I want you to think about it. Think about the last time that you had to stand up for something that you believed or something that you experienced. In Vision Casters Academy right now, we just finished a series called Learning to Discover the Sound of Your Own Voice, We talked about boundaries, and we talked about the skill of developing scripts for your most important conversations. Seems really foundational, seems really simple, but it's not easy. Let's talk about why. Can anybody share with me, like, what is your experience that last time you had to stand up for yourself? Was it easy? Did it like, oh yeah, I could totally like, or did you feel a little hesitation? Did you feel a little bit weak in the knees? Come on in here. Let's join the conversation. Was it easy, or did you hesitate? Did you allow something to happen, or did you say yes to something only to go back and to say, you know what? I didn't say exactly what I meant. Or it took me too long. Or I let them talk over me yet again. Again, not a judgment, but we all do this. Maybe you had an interaction with a client and they asked you for more than they were actually paying for. Or maybe you had that situation where an employee, a team member, did something and they pushed a little too far yet again, and you let it go. What's it been for you? Think about it. When's the last time you experienced that strain against your core values, like who you are, what you believe, and what is true for you? Now, let's talk a little bit about what everybody's talking about in the news, which is causes, and being canceled, losing friends. Okay. Here's what we're not talking about. When I am talking about showing up as the real you, this is not a conversation about declaring what is right and wrong from my perspective. That's not what this is about. Because showing up as your most authentic self is actually not about requiring and demanding that other people do what you do or believe what you believe or say what you say. That's not what this is about. And the big trick that the enemy has played, y'all better come on with this. The big trick is that we end up on polar opposites. We end up in this bifurcated situation where it's either this or it's that. And it actually may be true for you. I have things that are true for me that it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. These are the things that are true for me. And that, friend, is the foundation of core values. But when we go out into the world and we make demands of people and we end up shutting relationships off and people off because they don't instantly believe what we believe, friend, that is actually not the way that you build a vision you love. Because here's the thing, you will end up on an island all by yourself. And while you may say, hey, listen, I'm good being an island by myself, there is nowhere that I read where the Jesus that I serve says that that's okay. That's a whole separate conversation. But y'all come on in here with me, because core values gives you the framework to build a vision you love. Because when you do that, when you establish your own core values, you allow the Holy Spirit to do the work with everybody else. But when you build a vision you love on your core values, you will get less distracted. You will have more clarity when something comes to you and it doesn't agree with your core values. You will have peace. You will be able to interact in a way that is more authentic as we talk about it in the world. And you will be less anxious when it comes to worrying about what people think. How about you? Would you like to walk into environments where you are clear and confident, and it doesn't matter what's coming at you, what decision is coming at you, what is playing on the TV, what news reports are happening, but you will have clarity and confidence about what you believe and what your internal compass is? Yeah, let's go. Okay, so I'm going to ask again, what are your top 5 core values? So I'm going to teach you the way that I do it with my leaders. The very first thing is to get a list of core values. Now in Vision Casters Academy, we have this beautiful list. I don't know if you guys can see it, of core values. And you can do a Google search. And if you'd be interested in a copy of this, just DM us on either Instagram or drop us a note on YouTube or in the Facebook, on the Facebook page, and we will send you your very own list of core values. Let us know, or in the comments right here. Get your list of core values. Make a list of those attributes, those values, those things that you hold most dear. Just make a list until you can't write anymore. Make a list. I gave you some of what those were. Abundance, accountability, creativity, flexibility, freedom. What are the things that are most important to you? Now, there are a few important things to remember about values that'll make it a little bit easier for you to actually select your values. And if you don't do anything else, just remember these few things. Values are the things that are your internal compass. Okay, they're kind of the lens from which you see the world. They can be used to formulate opinions about what's good, bad, right, or wrong. But it's important to remember that values are deeply personal. Come on, they're deeply personal. If you are shaping your life, your work, how you show up in the world according to somebody else's values, meaning you haven't done the work yourself, if you haven't done the work yourself, you are not showing up as your most authentic self, and you are allowing someone else to build you will end up building somebody else's vision. I'm sorry, just don't be mad. If you are allowing what somebody else's values are, but you have not done the work yourself, you will end up building somebody else's vision. You will end up living somebody else's life. You will end up having somebody else's career, and you will look back. Friend, I do it all the time. Every single week, I am working with some leader who for 25 years has worked in an industry or done a job, and they resent it. They hate it. They did it because their parents were in that industry, because an uncle or somebody gave them a job and that's what they wanted to do. I had a family member years ago who used to always say to me, girl, you should go work for the post office. Girl, you'll have a job forever. And they were like dogging about it every time they saw me. Have you gone to fill out an application at the post office? I'm like, do you even know me? Like, are we family? No shade to the post office. I know some amazing people who work for the post office. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is, if you do not understand what is most important to you and what is most foundational, you will make decisions from a place that is not grounded in who you are and who God designed you to be. Now, for those of us that are believers, our values are shaped by our faith. Somebody come in here. Okay, I just completely forgot. I got carried away. Let me see who's up in here. Anybody? Hey, Delia. Good morning, girl. Now, Delia, I know you get it. I need you to come up in here and talk to us about this, because listen, if you show up in an environment where you are basically wearing a mask, your values are hidden deep underneath all of the things that you're supposed to be doing and supposed to be talking about because it's popular, because it's what everybody else is doing. Listen to me very carefully. For years, I went around celebrating everybody else because that's just how I'm wired. I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, for those of you that want to know. I was doing everything for everybody else and saying yes to things. Somebody would come to me and they're like, Karen, I just see potential in you, and I want you to come and do this thing over here. But I was not grounded enough in my own core values where I believed that what they were saying was exactly what I should be doing. Your core values are that internal compass. For those of us that are believers, they are the things that are shaped by our faith. If you have not done the work, friend, let me just tell you, you can find it in Scripture. That is our internal compass. Those are the things that say this is who we are as believers. It goes beyond any sort of man-made designation. It's the thing that affirms who we are in Christ. I'm just saying, for those of us that are believers, if you're not a Christian, that's okay. You ground yourself in who you are and what shapes how you want to show up in the world. When you get to the end of your days, when you get to the end of your life, what is it that you want people to say about you? Okay, hold on a minute. What is it that you want to say about yourself in terms of how you showed up in the world, in terms of what you committed to and what you said yes to? How is it that you want to show up in the world in terms of what it is you've invested in? Have you invested in things that affirm what God says about you, what God intended for you? Now, I get it. There are so many factors that put pressure on who we are and how we spend our time. I don't know about you, but for years, I went to work, right? I got out of school. I went to work at a job because I got a job offer. I wasn't necessarily thinking about my values. I was thinking about what was going to make me money. Anybody? That's how I started, right? And you go and you do a job. And maybe you're into whales and it has nothing to do with whales. I'm not knocking that. What I'm saying is there is a way to filter how you show up in the world and how those things that are coming at you as you interact in the world, there's a way to filter how you want to show up, how you want to make an impact. Values, and I need you to hear me, this is so important. Values can shift in importance over time. Okay, it's story time. 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, I was an executive in the technology space. I was traveling the world. I was working, all kinds of hours like many of you. I was doing the thing. I was living the dream. And then my mom got sick. Many of you know this story. I was my mom's caregiver, and my world got shifted upside down, y'all. And I say kind of overnight, but it wasn't overnight. That's a whole separate show. But there I was pursuing work and travel and building somebody else's dream, somebody else's vision. No problem. We do it all the time, right? But something began to happen, and I experienced something called positive disruption. I need y'all to write that down. Positive disruption is where your internal compass, those internal core values, begin to get agitated, rubbed the wrong way, offended, stepped on. Positive disruption happens when something in your life circumstance changes, the seasons change, and you've not quite caught up with that change. Are you hearing me? Positive disruption. Tiffany Pierce, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Dr. Tiffany Pierce is in here, y'all. Next season, I'm just saying, you better be ready. Delia says, that's my internal model. I live my life envisioning what people would say at my funeral. It may sound morbid, but I want to know I made an impact. Woo, girl, that's deep, deep. That is so good. Okay. So here I am. I'm pursuing all of these things. I'm investing my time. I'm saying yes to travel assignments and work assignments that are taking me further and further away from something. But at the time, I hadn't slowed down long enough to figure out what it was. Positive disruption is where that season begins to change. But that alignment begins to break. So now my mom is sick. She needs more of my time. But here I am over here working, traveling the world, doing those things. And I have to say to her, oh, I'm sorry, Mom, I can't go to the doctor with you. Oh, I'm sorry, Mom, I can't do this, that, or the other. Or I'm assigning people to roles and responsibilities that I really want to be a part of. Positive disruption is where that alignment breaks. You say, well, I get the disruption part, but what's the positive part? Because friend, here's the thing. when you experience positive disruption, that is when you begin to see and you begin to get set up for that next step in your life, that next part of the journey, that next season. It doesn't feel positive at the time because it hurts or because it's stressful. But here's where I want you to take a step back and put on your power plays. The power play for dealing with positive disruption is to look at that break in alignment, that sense of fear or worry or overwhelm, not from a place of fear or worry or overwhelm, but from a place of curiosity. Come on, come with me. Okay, from a place of curiosity. We say, and y'all have heard me say this before, we say, God, why are you causing this to happen? I did. When mom got sick and I was trying to go here and trying to go there and trying to do all of the things, I wasn't sleeping. As it turns out, I was unwell. I had a couple of biopsies by the time all that was said and done because I was ignoring my indicators. I hope somebody gets this. I was ignoring my indicators. I did not feel well. I wasn't sleeping. My emotions were all over the place. And y'all, don't anybody come for me on this emotions thing. Emotions are a gift from God. But emotions are indicators. They are not, as Pastor Andy Smith from Futures Kennesaw used to say, emotions are a poor consultant. Do not allow them to dictate what you do in the moment or the long term, but allow yourself to be curious about what you're experiencing. Instead of asking, God, why are you letting this happen? Victim mentality, fixed mindset, okay? Why? Ask this question. Lord, what are you asking me to learn? Lord, what is it that you need me to learn from this? I don't like the way this feels. What is it you can allow me to see in this? This is the positive part. When you look at the fork in the road, I'm going on analogies again, but when you look at that fork in the road, and instead of feeling afraid, instead of allowing overwhelm to consume you, you look at that situation and you ask God, what is it that you want me to see? And the lens that you look at that thing from are your core values. Core values are those things that are most important to who God called you to be as a vision-driven leader. I'll wait. Anybody? When you look at that positive disruption, that thing that is disrupting your life so much that you can't, it's hard to think. It's hard to think about anything else. Or for some of my leaders, they experience physical upset. They don't feel well. They're always thinking about it. Or maybe they are experiencing extreme emotion about a particular thing. They're always agitated. And for me, when I recognized my break in alignment from what I was doing, what I was saying yes to, how I was spending my time, and what God was calling me to. Come on, is anybody going with me today? When I realized that was my opportunity. That gap between where you are and what you're being called to, that thing that just will not leave you alone, the lens that you look at that from are your core values. Okay, so remember we made a list of all of the things. If y'all missed that, go back and listen to how I set that up. There are any number of core values and we all have different core values, but I just want you to make a general list of all of the things that are important to you. Okay. Remember, send us a DM or drop a note in the message and we'll send you the copy of our core values assessment. Once you get that general list, you've got 35 words or whatever that is. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back and out of all of the ones that you listed, I want you to identify your top 10. If you were on a deserted island, you could only take 10 with you. I want you to identify those 10, circle them. These are the 10 things that I want to take with me to a deserted island. These are the things that are most true about me. Okay? Next, I want you to highlight your top 5. Are you with me? Are you with me? Highlight your top 5. These are the things in any environment, in any business conversation, in any ministry environment, in any family dynamic, in any work situation. These are the things that are most true about you. Okay? Highlight those 5. Okay? Remember, it's simple, but it's not easy. I'm telling you, every single year, I do a battery of these values assessments with my leaders. Presidents, executive vice presidents, board members, you name it. They all look at the values assessment like this. Like, I was not expecting this. Why? It's simple, but it's not easy. Because here's the thing. When it comes to our core values, we will all have opportunities in the vision that God has given us to be required to show up in a way that says, this is actually the real me. This is actually the real me. We will all, like, hello, look at the past 3 years. We will all be required to step into that place where we say, these are the things that are most true about me. But remember, your core values are not to be used as weapons. Woo! I may need to sit down for that one. If you're using your core values as a weapon, if you are weaponizing your core values, friend, you are missing it. You are missing it. Jesus never used who he was as a weapon. He used who he was as an opportunity. Come on. Are you using your core values in the life that you're living as an opportunity, as an invitation to show people the Father? Well, I just believe what I believe and everybody else should come along with it. And here's what's happened to me and here's why I do the things I do. Friend, let me just tell you, I'm not judging you, okay? That's not what this is about. But let's go back to story time. At the most difficult place, just before I began to understand where I was in positive disruption, I was angry, bitter, sarcastic, and I used what I thought I knew about myself and my core values, I used it as a weapon. Anybody? Are you ready? I used it as a weapon. I looked at everybody around me, and and I didn't know it at the time. This is the thing. When you are on the cusp of positive disruption, meaning you're more in disruption than you are in anything positive, your life is falling apart, your business is crashing, your relationships are fractured, whatever that is, just ahead of that point, for me, I couldn't stand myself. Why? Because I was not living my life through my core values. I was rejecting them. I was ignoring them. I was oblivious to them. I was going through the motions and not showing up as myself. And I took no time to identify why. My number one core value, for those of you that know me, you know this about me. Can anybody guess? I'm just curious. What's my number one core value? I've said this before, so if you've been following me for any amount of time, you may know the answer to this. I'm just curious. Anybody want to guess what my number one core value is? Anybody? Come on. Anybody want to guess what my number one? Kimberly, what's my number one core value? Any guess? Huh? Well, that is in my top 5. So you get points for that. It's in my top 5. Oh, Amanda said the same thing. Y'all. Y'all coordinated this, I'm sure of it. It's in my top, family is my top 5. It's in my top 5. It is. It is. But that's not it. Anybody? Okay, Delia says mental health. No, it's not mental health. Although that's like in my top 20. Y'all. Tiffany, that's number 2. You're close. You're getting close. Y'all. Seriously? You're going to try again? Or are you just going to give up? Relationship with God, that's my second one. Integrity, that's in my top 5. Y'all are close. We need to spend more time together, I guess. Y'all, okay. Joy. Seriously. Anyway, joy is my number 1 core value. And guess what? Ahead of recognizing I was in positive disruption, I had no joy. I had no joy. Core values are that internal compass. They help you recognize when you are off course. Did y'all get that? Your core values are that internal compass that says, that's not the right direction. Yeah, that doesn't feel right. Or danger. Your core values, if you don't get anything else we've talked about this season in Jumpstart, I want you to understand the importance of your core values. If you do not know your core values, stop everything you're doing in your work, in your life, in your ministry. Stop everything you're doing and identify your core values. Why? Is it because you want to avoid disruption? Is it because you want to be your most authentic self? No. You want to identify your core values, friend, because if you do not know what God has built in you, what is most important for you in your workplace, in your ministry, in your business, in your family, if you don't understand your core values, you will not fulfill your God-given purpose. What, Karen? Your purpose is uniquely designed. It's gifted to you to be able to do the work that God has called you to do. People used to say to me all the time, Karen, you're so cheery and happy, and what's with all the bright colors and the diamonds and rhinestones? What's all that about? And for a while, I was like, sorry. I went to buy a briefcase years ago. This was 15 years ago. And I saw there were 2 briefcases in this store. There was a black one and a purple one. And guess which one I wanted? The purple one, just in case. The purple one. It was gorgeous. It was leather. It was a briefcase. So it was professional, but it was purple. And somebody said to me, "Oh, don't get that one. It's not professional. It's a briefcase, but it's not professional." Now I get it. There are some environments, but this was me, and it was my briefcase, and I was excited about it. You know what I did? I bought the black one. And you know what happened? I hated it. But there I was rolling around with my black briefcase. And I couldn't stop thinking about the purple one. Somebody's going to get this in a minute. Some of you are walking through life with somebody else's values. You are living your life through somebody else's values. Listen to me very carefully. This is not about, okay, y'all know I'm a Jesus girl. Okay? But what I'm talking about is recognizing how to embed who you are and how God wired you and what's most important to you in everything you do. So we say, and this is where we get into using our core values as a crutch. We say, well, you've got to believe everything I believe, and these are my core values, and Coach Karen said so. So that's just the way it has to be. Or I have this job and I hate this job because I actually want to go save the whales. And so I'm going to leave my job and go do my own thing. Or my core values are that I need freedom and independence. And so I'm going to walk away from my marriage because my husband is always asking me how I'm spending money and where I'm going. Do not try it with me, friend. Do not try it with me. Because your core values, if you are a believer, your core values are always shaped through the lens of faith. They're always shaped through the lens of integrity about what is most true for you. If you are a believer, what's most true for you as a believer. And we look at that lens through God's standards. Now, if you're not a believer, I get it, and it's okay, and you go do you. But if you're a believer, I need you to come in here with me for a moment. Because for me, I went around when I was at my darkest point, when I was most exhausted and overwhelmed, and I was just going through the motions. I was on autopilot. You remember we talked about that at the top of the hour. I was on autopilot. I was doing all of the things. But I had no joy. I had no peace. I didn't like any of my family members. Okay, I didn't like my own kids. And I didn't like myself. I couldn't stand myself. And here's what was happening. And I even hate to even admit this, but everything was, well, so what? And fine, you can do things I can do bad by myself. Does that sound like joy? Does that sound like peace, friend? Come on in here. Let me talk to you for a minute. I get it. We all go through those periods where we are running on autopilot. It's easy to do. Now, most of you know that you heard me at the top of the hour say, this is our last episode of Jumpstart for the spring season. We will be back in August, okay? So we're not going anywhere, but we got a whole different business model approach, and I'm so excited about this. And I'm so thankful for all of you that have been joining us every morning. I would love to hear if these episodes of Jumpstart have been helpful for you, if you enjoy them, or if they're just kind of annoying. Oh, there Karen is again every morning, every Monday morning, whatever. But one of the reasons why I changed the business model is because I wanted to make sure during the summer months that I'm available for my son. And you are right. My third top core value is family. My number one core value is joy. My second core value is faith, my relationship with Jesus Christ. And my third top 5 core value is family. Okay. So here I am working. You know, y'all know I have a corporate practice, so that's my day job. But I wanted to be present and have very little obstruction during the summer months. Why? Because even though I'm an older mom, Okay, I have a school-age child. I wanted to be fully present, have most of my brain cells available for that boy during the summer. Okay? I built my vision through the lens of my core values. I went back to my core values as I'm looking at how my life is going, and I'm like running and trying to do all of create content and interview guests and do all of these things. But during the summer months, I would literally watch my son wake up in the morning, okay, during the summer, and he'd be like, "Hey mom," on Monday morning, "Hey mom," and I'm like, "I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go." And he's like, "Right." And the older he got, and some of y'all, this is hitting home. Some of y'all, this is hitting home. It may not be a son. Maybe it's a spouse. Don't y'all mess with me. I told you, I'm not playing this year. I'm not playing. But for me, I don't want to miss my calling as a mom. Don't get that? I will not miss my calling as a mom. So let's go back to that thing that we do where we use our core values as a weapon. We weaponize them. Well, I'm a working woman. I can't do my, or whatever. Maybe your core value is contribution, and that's the way you do it. You work, you got a paycheck, right? Whatever. Great. But if you are using your core values as a weapon against people that you are close to or people you don't know, you are missing the opportunity and the invitation to draw people to what God has called you to do. Did y'all? Okay. I'm just saying. My calling as a mom, if I get to glory, if I get to heaven and I have missed what I have been called to do. Now, is being a mom always fun? No. Some days I want to get on a plane and just keep going. Okay. Y'all know I got a teenager. The other day, y'all, I'm telling you, he tried me so hard. He tried me so hard in public with people present. And I went there right there in the moment. I went there with him. It was just me and him. There were other people around, but it was just me and him. So I'm not saying that what you're called to is easy. But what I'm saying is, if what you are doing is using your core values as a weapon against everybody else, you are missing the opportunity and the invitation to actually draw people into what you're doing. You will resent, and what you are called to, your ultimate purpose, what you were designed to do, will wear you out. Take a step back. And instead of asking God, why are you letting this happen? Karen, I'm going through stuff. Karen, you don't understand. My loved one is sick. I'm a caregiver. I'm exhausted. You don't understand what I'm going through. Friend, your core values, once you know what they are, Delia, I saw your note. We'll be sending you this tool. Once you know your core values, you will begin looking at life from the perspective of not that I have to do stuff, but that I get to do stuff. Y'all, this season of Jumpstart has been life-changing for me. I am so thankful to all of you that have joined me most every Monday and gone on the journey with me. We're going to be doing a survey to the larger group, and one of the things that is potentially up, we haven't decided yet, but it is something that we're looking at, is many of you know that we have a free private coaching group. And it's really important that we spend our time the right way and that we invest our dollars. Like this is not, it's free to you, but it ain't free to me. Okay. It ain't free to us. Like we have a whole team behind here. And it's an amazing adventure, but we want to make sure that the content and the value and the benefit of the work that we're doing is going into the right place at the right time for the right people who need it. And so that free coaching group may go away, and we're going to be redirecting those efforts into other platforms. That's one of the things that we're talking about. Why? Because I'm not interested in just having a bunch of people gather together and just having spectators. Come on. This is core value, right? One of my values, it's not my top 5, is contribution. I have no interest in wasting people's time. So we're going to be doing a survey. We'll be sharing that. And listen, it is really important to me that the material and the resources that we provide are useful and beneficial. Many of them are free. Why? Because contribution, that's one of my core values. So listen, if this show has been a help to you, we would love to hear your feedback. So when you see that, if you are not following us on our public page, please make sure the public page will remain on Instagram and on Facebook. Jump in there and share your feedback when we put up the survey. We would love to hear your feedback, both the positive and the constructive. It's one of the ways that we make sure that we're giving you resources and tools and content that means something to you. We want to make a difference and an impact. Listen, friend, the reality is there are so many things that can put pressure on your core values. There are so many voices that can be talking to you about what to believe and what to say and what to do. But when you know for yourself, you've done the work around what your core values are, I promise you will make a difference and an impact in your family, in your business, in your ministry, whatever it is. I know because I've done the work and I help thousands of leaders every single year do the same thing. I hope that you will continue along on the journey with us. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, it's Rock Your Vision, and on Facebook, it's the Rock Your Vision Masterclass community. Look us up. Make sure you're following us there. And most of all, if you don't remember anything else, remember you've got more options than you realize when it comes to your core values and your vision. I'll see you in the fall. Bye, everybody.